And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports. My name is Musab, and I'm doing all right and I'm feeling optimistic. With the new week comes new opportunities, and speaking of opportunities, I have the opportunity to be talking again with Mr. 2 out of 2 on the RBLR Fantasy Player of the Week, aka the one and only Stefan. Stefan, how are we doing today?
Hey, we're doing all right, right? Like you said, there's reason to be optimistic. It was not a great performance by our boys, but 6-2, it could be way worse. So we'll take it. We could be the Chiefs. So we'll take it, and we're positive going into the bye week.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, if you want to spread some love and positivity, and if you could do us a favor, and however you're listening to this, there's probably a follow button, a like button, or a subscribe button. And also, we are at RBLR Sports on all social media. Well, ladies and gents, the alarm in my head is ringing because it's time. It's time for the fun. It's time to talk some Tampa Bay football. Well, we definitely have a lot to go over, but Stefan, give me your overall thoughts.
Well, that kind of how we always start the show with that one-liner, two-liner. Mine will probably be penalties, and more penalties, and turnovers will just lead to defeat on a divisional away game. I mean, it's tough to win a divisional game as it is, especially away in that dome. And penalties, and they killed us, and so did the turnovers. So that's probably where I'll leave it at. And again, we're so good that we still had a chance to win it. But those two things really pop into my head when I think about last week. How about yourself?
I'm with you right there with the penalties, but I also just want to say overall, though, Stefan, I mean, no excuses for what was going on that field, especially with the circumstances on both sides. I'm talking the Saints, what they had to go through, and then just what we've been dealing with. This was a true test for our season. This is like, hey, listen, you finally warmed up. This is, we're talking, we're already, a lot of games into the season now. So this is it. And just, you know what? Trevor Siemian he really hurt me, Stefan. I'll just summarize it like that. All right. He hurt me, but also I'm going to say our Bucs hurt me. And, that's just really how I feel. My overall thoughts, I was rather in awe as to what happened, especially the ending. So,
yeah, I agree. Listen, that the Simeon thing, I mean, it was annoying to watch. But also, if you've been a Bucs fan for a long time, I feel like we know how that goes with backup quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks. So, to your point, it was tough to watch, but it's nothing we haven't seen before.
How many times are we gonna let this happen, Stefan? The backups, the rookie, the random quarterback. Why do they always get to us in some way or another?
I don't know, man. I wish we had the answers, right? We got rid of a lot of coaches trying to figure that one out before we won a Super Bowl. And, I don't know, man, but it is extremely frustrating. So that on that note, I think we should move into kind of our good segment here and start with, one of our guys here, Chris Godwin. I appreciate the pat on the back for the 2-2 of fantasy. Musab, he was really, really impressive. What did you see out of him?
I mean, unfortunately, because I had Mike Evans, this just worked out for him just because of what was going on with Mike Evans and it was being locked down. So this was Chris Godwin's opportunity to shine. This is exactly what I think a lot of people, including you, were expecting. I mean, listen, if not Evans, then who else? It's going to be Godwin, Mr. Franchise Player. So I'm happy with this performance. I mean, yeah, he balled out, especially some real good runs, the stiff arm, and then that kind of whatever you want to call it, kind of the breakaway from the tackle or the semi tackle, and then you got some extra yards. So I'm sure any fantasy owner who had him was very happy with his performance.
No, I agree. Listen, eight catches for 140 and a touchdown. Any player will take that in the NFL. It was an incredible performance by him. We kind of talked about it last week, knowing that Lattimore was going to be on our guy Mike. But hey, talking about that, Musab, our guy Mike made the good list this week, even against Lattimore, which is finally happens during a regular season game. He had that 50-yard bomb for a tutty. What did you think about his performance? And anything to say here, knowing that he has a legitimate top 5 cornerback on him this past week?
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, so both of these guys have many years down the road, many, many more battles coming up. So I'm happy with the progression that has happened. The touchdown that he got on him, that was a nice, kind of that was just beautiful, honestly. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It was just like, dang, he got up in his face. Uh, Overall, that was the moment he was waiting for. That was the
Oh
moment
yeah.
Mike Evans was waiting for. I'm sure that really got to Lattimore, probably fired him up, got him a little hot-headed and stuff like that. But yeah, no, hey, I would put him on our good list as well. I mean, yeah, we're talking a very deadly, deadly defender on Mike Evans. I mean, a rival. More than just any other guy. I mean, this is a rival. This is history. And it's unfortunate that, overall, I would probably say it was, he contained him and stuff like that, unfortunately, because I had him as my fantasy player. It was tough to watch, but then again, that touchdown was also very nice to see. But
Hey, that's 11 points or 10 points right there. So that helped. It can't hurt.
it was a mix of emotions, I guess, Stefan. I think that's what it is with Mike Evans and just overall the game. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah, well, something else what I want to point out, right? Talking about not only fantasy but just Mike Evans' performance in general. I disagree there a little bit just because Tom Brady did miss him wide open on that go route to start the game on that first quarter. That's another touchdown in itself. Then where it might not be Godwin, the guy that we had here at the top of the list when we start the show. So and he beat him pretty good on that go route. So it's not. I would say like when people say or anyone says right that he stopped him. Well, he was open and they missed him too. So it's kind of like it goes both ways. But to your point, I mean it wasn't. He also didn't have the stat line that Godwin had. So it was kind of a pick your poison kind of thing. That being said, let's move into our next guy, Musaba. We got Rojo on the list. We didn't run the ball a lot, but I will say he looked really good when he ran it. He looked better than Lenny, even though Lenny got more attempts and he even caught a screen pass. So any thoughts on Rojo's performance? I thought he run pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, still expecting more, and obviously with the whole trade deadline and everything, and all the talk that's been going about Rojo. I mean, I still want to see more. I think he did fairly solid. It was a tough game. It was a tough battle. So I mean, I wasn't expecting him to have a sunshine kind of game. If anyone was going to step up, it was going to be Fournette, but that's about it. So really happy. Also, shout out to Giovanni Bernard. But yeah, when it comes to Rojo, I need to see more. And this was a tough game. If he really wanted to kind of stand out, I mean, there was only so much he could do. I guess he was a little bit limited as well, but. It is what it is. I just need to see more. That's just really how I feel, Stefan. I don't know. What about you? Overall thoughts? I mean, how do you
Yeah.
feel just with what's been going on, at least with the talk of Ronald Jones? How do you feel about all that?
Well, I think that due to our injuries, right, that there's a lot of talk about trading him, not trading him. I mean, the deadline at this point passed, and obviously we didn't trade him. But I think. Last year when he went down, we had Lenny, right? So who's to say that it can't be the other way around? Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if he goes down, then we're kind of in. Giovanni's not really known for his running, right? He's more of a passing, catching sort of back. So sometimes Rojo drives me nuts, but I thought he. I just don't think I don't know what we were going to get for him, Musab, right? I don't think we're going to get a top corner, which is probably something we would have looked at, or safety even, or anything, right? Like I just don't even know what the value was. So I'm sure that the Bucs probably filled in some questions, but nothing of value that I would probably give him just away for. Because I think he will add value down the road. We don't know what's gonna happen. We've been decently healthy in this room, thankfully this year. So I kind of agree with keeping him unless the offer was too good to be true, and it wasn't. So I think keeping him in the roster and having that 1-2 punch is not going to hurt us in the long run. Even though we are in this podcast, we're big fans of a regular season Lenny, but I'm okay with keeping him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you right there with you. And speaking of down the road, I think there's a lot of things we got to reflect and think about when it comes to down the road, especially the playoffs, Super Bowl. If we stay hot. But hey, listen, bye week comes at the right time, huh?
Yeah, no, I agree agree with that. And the bye week, I think it's a good thing for us because it gives us, a chance to rest and kind of hopefully get healthy, right? I mean, we haven't seen anything from SMB. We haven't seen anything from Carlton Davis. Hopefully, Scooter AB. We do have a lot of the people who contributed big time for us last year in the playoffs that are out. So hopefully we get a chance to maybe get some of these guys back. Even Gronk did not even look close to being ready last week in those few plays that they put him in there. And listen, as a Bucs fan, if you would have told me, I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what our record predictions were, Musa, but maybe for our podcast next week, we kind of go back and revisit those. But I'm pretty sure I had 2 losses early in the year for us, before our bye week. So, I can't be too mad when I myself predicted that we would have two. Obviously, the Saints one, really kind of hurts me because I just very dislike the Saints. But hey, 6-2 atop of the division with a lot of injuries, and we have a quarterback who's played very well besides those 2 passes last week, and a defense that's kind of holding by a string and has been able to. 6-2, I'll take it. We started best start of franchise history a week ago, so we can't allow this one loss to just go from north to south this bad. So I'll take it, Musab. How about your thoughts? Going into this bye week.
I mean, yeah, going into this bye week, I think I had a lot more different feelings as to how this first half, I guess, would turn out to be, especially the Saints game. I was definitely hoping for a nice, strong finish before the bye week, but obviously that isn't what happened. But that being said, though, I mean, honestly, I don't remember exactly. I didn't have that many losses at all overall, so I'd probably say it was probably 2 max that I had him. Probably just, I don't know, maybe 2. I think I had him as a little bit of a slower start, and then a real nice strong finish after the bye week. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this is time to just really think about what's been going on. There's just a lot of big questions we need to find the answers for, and I guess it's just for me as this bye week comes, I'm thinking, well, we're not playing like the champs. I know, I know we have a lot of things going on, like injuries and stuff like that, but this is the time for our backups to step up. I feel like, they've been getting their experience now. So game by game, I'm expecting things to be clicking better. And, a shout out to just the Saints for picking on us. They were picking on us, and they fought hard, especially the defense, and we kind of just let it happen to us. What they were dealing with and all that, especially after that Winston injury, I'm sure that put everyone down. That kind of got everyone a little bit spooked. But that's really about it, though. We're the ones who actually got spooked. It was a really shocking loss, especially the finish. I mean, I was rather more in awe as to that actually happened more than OMG, like our team is, so faulty. They're so they're so stupid. They're so silly. Why do they keep doing these things over and over again? I mean, I think about those kind of things now. These now is after a loss, you're like, wow, what are the things that kind of just popped up just cause, and then what are the things that were like, this should have not happened. All right. And the big one is definitely, as you said, penalties, and penalties.
Yeah, I agree, and that kind of leads into unfortunately this week we have a larger bad segment than a good segment. And I kind of wanted to bring a guy up to you that I want to give you my opinion here because I'm kind of disappointed in a way. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Tryon. Listen, I'm not a big fan of criticizing play calling just because these guys get paid a lot of money to do it. They're obviously smarter than they've been doing this for a long, long time. But appreciate putting Joe Tryon in coverage, and it feels like Todd Bowles gets a little pretty with his blitzes. He's known for making these weird blitzes and getting to the quarterback, and then he puts Joe Tryon in coverage, and I'm almost feeling like, is this too much information for this young guy that it's overwhelming and it's kind of stopping his growth when it comes to rushing the quarterback? I mean, last game he only had 1 tackle and nothing near a sack again. And I see a lot of times they'll send Devin White and Levant and then kind of push him back with Sue. And listen, I enjoy those kind of weird things, but it just feels like to me, can we just stop putting this guy in coverage? I mean, we already struggle with our linebacker crew to be in coverage sometimes, and now you're putting this guy in coverage. I'm just not a big fan. wanted to get your overall perspective on Joe and kind of where this is going. We did not waste, but we did pick him in the first round. So you would expect a little more than we've gotten.
Absolutely. Definitely. It looked to me like an off game, but I also just want, I don't want to put too much on him. The way I see it is more just how are we kind of picking up on him having an off game? I mean, yeah, he's a rookie. He's got a lot to learn. Their team surprisingly was coming at us in a rather odd manner, but they were succeeding here and there. And I mean, hey, you said it yourself with Todd Bowles, these interesting kind of approaches when it comes to blitzing and all that. I mean, uh, I kind of have to say that I don't want to put too much on him. Hey, yeah, yes, he had an off game, but I'm looking more at the D line overall. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we did, I guess, solid overall. I don't know. There was just too many things that we could just be picking apart, minute by minute and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just rather surprised that maybe it was just the Saints O line was just mad, looking mad hot or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to call that. I mean, they were just surprisingly they weren't really kind of firing up our D line. They were containing them. I saw it here, there, everywhere, and for that reason, it kind of allows people like Joe Tryon to have these vulnerable positions, and yeah, I kind of just saw him as a kind of like the guinea pig on the field, just testing out. But this was not a kind of game, I guess, that I was expecting from him, but also more, I guess, the approach. This was more about execution. The execution was not there when it came to the D line overall, and this was more than just one person. This was the team. This also included the coaches. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and leading to that, our next topic in the bad section again. Listen, what if I would have told you that we blitzed 22 times, Musab? Out of those 22 times, 8 of them were zero blitzes, meaning that we're sending the entire house at the quarterback except the corners, right? And guess how many sacks we recorded?
0.
Yeah, that's an NFL record, Musab.
Oh my!
We keep finding ways to break a record. So 22 blitzes and no sacks is an actual NFL record for not getting a sack with sending that many people. So, I think it's unacceptable to not record a sack, especially if we're blitzing that much with the front seven we have. That's kind of my thoughts on it. We're blitzing, plus the front four guys we have are really good, and we can't even get to Simeon or Winston. And it was pretty pathetic not being able to get a sack, in my opinion, with how many times we went down there.
I'm right there with you. For me, it was more just successful containment, I guess, or enough containment to protect the quarterbacks, especially Trevor Siemian, but also poor execution. Okay, sure, yeah, maybe you're not as fast as Trevor Siemian and you can't immediately chase him down, but you got to make him move around. Okay, you made Winston move around here and there, and I mean, listen, hey, he got to us as well, but I guess it was, listen, it was ice cold Trevor Siemian coming off, and first play obviously it was like, okay, well, this guy's definitely ice cold, but right after that, I mean, he picked it up. The fact that our D line wasn't kind of taking advantage of that, I thought it was going to be a feast, Stefan. I'll just leave it at that. I thought it was going to be a feast for sure, but it surely was not.
Yeah. I would agree with you there, and it was. I guess I just wanted to bring that, the kind of the blitzing and getting. And to your point, the front, the defensive line. That's a lot to not produce anything, and it was a little frustrating. The next topic in our bad section here, I wanted to ask you about the 2-point conversion, kind of what your thoughts were on that and around to Godwin.
I think it was a risky play. It could have been successful, but it also could have failed, and that's what it did. I don't think it was the right moment to, do that. Their defense was looking real hot. All right, yeah. More credits to their defense and their offense. Definitely credit to Trevor Siemian and what he was able to do against the Super Bowl champions, even though we weren't looking hot. But big credits to the defense. They got to us, and that's all it really just came down to. Just reading the situation. They read it, and they also, let me tell you, they came at us. Tackles, the hits. They weren't just these normal, fundamental, okay, yeah, we stopped them. It was like three dudes charging at him. And yeah, oh, they didn't let him get, yeah, they didn't let him get by at all.
Yeah, no, that play. The reason I wanted to bring it up was, in my opinion, I guess Musab, when you have the goat and then you have weapons galore, is that the play call you kind of would go to on a two? And, I guess I don't know if that's a play I would draw up. Again, I hate questioning these things, but also, do you notice anything about that play, Musab? Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, huh, this reminds me of a game. And if I remember that this play's on tape, why run it again? This is actually the play we used to get that first down to seal the deal versus Green Bay in the NFC Championship game. It's the same play. I don't know. I believe I like my odds. Putting the ball in the goat's hands with OJ Howard, Cameron Bray, Mike Evans, Giovanni Bernard coming out of the backfield, and Godwin. So I just kind of wanted to hear what you had to say about that one.
I mean, a lot of people said it just like me, and I was thinking it's times like these where you really miss Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
And I'm on the same boat with you, Stefan. I think Tom Brady could have executed that better instead of going for that kind of play. Um, it just wasn't the right play, and I guess maybe we just needed to learn the hard way. All right.
Yeah. And enough with the end around too, because we tried it with Darden early in the game, we got crushed.
Yeah, I don't know. There was this. I think we were just trying to test out things just because of the situation. That Winston injury, I think, just brought a lot of kind of underestimation on our side, and they took advantage of that. I think we were trying to have these random, interesting, different, spontaneous approaches based on how they were looking, at least, offensively and even defensively. I think, we had a lot of successful kind of plays and stuff like that. We were able to fight back for sure, but at the end of the day, it all matters how you finish, and those kind of things allow us to, come to a halt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was disappointing to say the least. And again, just to wrap up that play, it's just if a fan like us can catch it on tape, imagine these people that do it for a living. So moving forward here in our unfortunate long bad segment here. Penalties, Musab. I'll let you start with this so you can get your frustration out, and then I'll put the nail in the head on this one.
I'm just gonna start out with a nice big old sigh. How are we gonna keep letting this happen, especially when we've had games where we didn't make these kind of penalties. In fact, the last game we had against the Bears, I think it was maybe one. Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was.
I believe it probably was less than, it wasn't that much. It could have been one. I don't want to state something that's wrong, but
Maybe one or two max. I don't know, but we were definitely looking real good when it came to the penalties. As in real good, meaning we didn't make any silly mistakes. Same kind of errors happening over and over again, enduring costly plays. Okay, that's what really got to us. That's what allowed them to fight back. We put up a dog fight, but the penalties. Listen, the penalties is what got to us. The penalties added on to the equation of the constant pressure. I think the execution was just thrown off by how we were playing, specifically penalties wise, and then what we thought they were going to be playing like based on the Winston injury and just the injuries they already had beforehand as well.
Listen, this is something, Musab, that is very frustrating to me because it just reminds me of all Buck terrible football. 11 penalties for 99 yards. Like, that's a whole football field. That is just insanity. I think it's getting out of hand. I think we're probably second or dead last in the league at this point. And listen, I know the coaches harp on it because when I heard the press conference from Bruce Arians, obviously most of the reporters were asking what's going on with the penalties, and he said that he doesn't understand why so many roughing the passers. When all week he mentioned to the players, listen, that that they even scout refs now, that they were scouting the refs, and it's something that they knew that this combo of refs is something they call a lot. And then we got it. I mean, it negated that interception with Winfield, which would have stopped that drive. It gave them 45 yards in the first, in their first touchdown, which is pretty much half of the field. So, it's so frustrating. So, I don't even know, I guess, what would you say as a coach or as a player, but they got to stop, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just we're a Super Bowl team, and we're having these are mistakes that we just can't keep afford to have, happening over and over again. I understand that every single game's a different game, a different team, different kind of roster that we have sometimes, but you have to understand when can you make these mistakes and when can you like really not. Okay? And there were a lot of times we were making mistakes when we really could not afford to. We just let them, listen, if we have to learn the hard way, and maybe this was just the nice big old learning lesson before the bye week. Listen, you have to tighten up, pick up on these small silly errors that you keep making over and over again, and fix them to the best of your ability as soon as possible. Because if we keep doing this, Stefan, I don't know how far we're gonna go. Honestly, I hate to say it. It's a rather maybe I'm letting uh, the emotions or the pessimism kind of attack me now, because I was mad optimistic earlier on this season for how we were going to be very successful towards the end of the season. But now, game by game, especially with these kind of small little doinks here, there, everywhere, I am rather concerned, Stefan. I really am.
Oh, listen, I'm right there with you, man. So I think the bye week's going to do good for our mentals too, right? As fans, I don't want to say obviously because we've had very disappointing seasons before. This has been one that it's not that any of us are disappointed. It's just I guess the standard is so high now because of what we saw last year that it hurts a little bit, and that kind of leads us to our next guy. I mean, who would have thought we would ever have him in the bat list? And Tom Brady, right? I mean. Listen, I'm willing to guarantee a six-pack of beer to any Bucs fan that when we got that ball back with timeouts and all we needed was a field goal, we all thought we were going to win, right? Like, there's no way we didn't. So, safe to say wasn't one of his best performances as a Buck. One lost fumble, two horrendous picks, a QBR of 62, which is just a little bit tad above average. And it seems like, the Saints regular season defense has figured him out. Musa, what's going on here?
They're toying with us, but yeah, hate to say it, but I was rather disappointed, especially with the last play. Um, all the experience that you have, Tom Brady, and all the experience the coaching staff has. Something like that should have not happened. I understand it was a really kind of gut reaction play, but I guess we got, listen, I think it's he / our whole team overall, we let the pressure get to us.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened, and because they were locked on, they were sticking to him like gorilla glue, and one small little kind of a little bounce off, and boom, someone's got the chance to catch it and run it down, and then also the fact that he was able to get a touchdown off of that that hurt even more.
I'll tell you I'll tell you something on that one that that I was just thinking when you said that. He caught a break, Musa, because the first bomb that he sent to the left side, that safety didn't pick it up. I don't know if he was just caught sleeping, but even then you saw when Brady put his hands on his head, he was like, man, I just caught a break. And then the next play, a pick, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there was just I think he let the pressure get to him, because I think one play that I still remember. I understand. I mean, not everyone's perfect or whatever, but a runoff that Mike Evans had on Lattimore. I don't know, Lattimore got a little bump, slip, or whatever you want to call it. Evans had the free run. Oh, he had the space, everything, but it just went a little too deep, and I was like, oof. That's when we really need you, Tom. We need those beautiful Brady passes, and it was a little tough, but I mean, it was the ending as well that kind of got to me, and I think at that point he kind of quit. It kind of it ain't nice seeing a guy like Tom Brady get the intercept or throw an interception, and then but he's got his hands on his hips, and it's he knows it was over.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
I will say for those Bucs fans that I saw it all over social media saying that, oh, he didn't run after him. Listen, we saw Baker Mayfield run after one of those guys, and then he knows a tore labrum and everything. Listen, the game was over. He threw a pick. Regardless if he scores or not, we can't stop the clock. Game's over. So I don't want him running after the guy either in that situation, in my opinion. What do you think about that? I saw a lot of people questioning why he didn't go after him, because he kind of just stood there.
Stefan, I the only reason I'm going to disagree with you is because it's Tom Brady. If Tom Brady's on my team and, something like that happens and I see Tom Brady our captain, the leader of our team, running after a guy even when he knows it's over. He's still putting in work out there. It kind of fires you up a little bit. Okay, yeah, obviously he's not going to get him or whatever, but I don't know. I think if everyone was like me on the field, Stefan, maybe we would able to kind of get him down, tackle him. Maybe it was just it was like a last minute little sting to the face. They got the touchdown as well. They can just run the clock, even just rack up a field goal. I would be like, okay, whatever. That was still kind of crappy. But talking a pick six against Tom Brady's Super Bowl champs, just when you really needed it. I can't imagine how loud that stadium was roaring full of Saints fans.
Yeah,
for that kind of play,
Well, I saw
it was a big win for them, and it was an unfortunate big L for us overall, man.
I saw another stat, Musab, that was kind of interesting to me. As talking about maybe this defense having him figured out. Out of his 17 turnovers as a Buck, 10 of them are against the Saints, which is insane to think.
Listen, I said the nightmare of Nola, and I did not realize, Stefan, I was talking about Tom Brady and his nightmare in Nola happening over and over again.
Yeah, it was tough to watch.
When is this man going to get a nice regular season win against the New Orleans Saints?
Well, we've lost, I think, 6 straight. I think we've lost 6 straight.
It's too much. Tom Brady, if you're listening to this, I'm really counting on you to win the next time we play the Saints.
Oh, I'm saving my voice for that one. I'll be there. It's a Sunday night game too, so you best believe I won't have my voice for the next cast. But yeah, it was tough to watch. I think we'll bounce back. It's nothing to be. It's not panic button. I think 6-2, and when you have the GOAT on your side and a few injuries, again, there's nothing to panic. It's just it's criticism because I feel like it's fair. It wasn't his best performance. But moving on to our next guy, and I know Musab, this one's gonna hurt. So you might want to take another side on this one, but 45 hasn't played well, and I think it's time for us to accept it, huh?
Wish you didn't say that number, Stefan. But then again, I have a confession to make. I agree with you. Yeah. It was not the game I was expecting overall from the defense, especially people like him. If the offense is always going to have roller coasters. I feel like every team's offense can always have its roller coasters. But what separates the boys from the men, what separates a regular season team from a playoff team or a Super Bowl team, is that deadly consistent defense. Okay, right? And yes, listen, we already knew our little DB situation was not looking hot at all. It hasn't been looking hot, but we got a fiery D line. We got D White, Vontae David, man, we got a bunch of guys, and none of them were firing me up. Sure, they were putting pressure here and there. Obviously, it wasn't like it was a walk in the park for the Saints offense, but I don't know. I guess overall, I keep saying, I guess my word for this podcast is execution. The execution was not there, Stefan.
No, it wasn't. And, some of the things that I kind of want to talk to you about our guy Devin White, and listen, we'll preface this by saying we love this guy. We both think he's legit. He's the real deal. But it's okay to have your slump, right? Not everyone's good, great every single time. We see it in the GOAT. We saw it in Tom Brady last weekend, right? So everyone's allowed to have a down week. But this is just a few strings of few weeks of down weeks for this guy. First I kind of wanted to mention, to me, Musabi still looks a little bit lost in coverage. And also when he blitzes, how many times is he just going to pass? He's there. He just doesn't sack him. It's like he passes right through him, which is kind of a little bit disappointing to me. And what really bothered me this past week, Musaba, this is where I want to get your opinion, is it's not only that he didn't play great, it was dumb football. 3 penalties for 45 yards. They were all personal fouls or taunting. Come on, man. That's half of the penalties we had, Musab.
Yeah, you do those kind of penalties, Stefan, when you play the Bears, not the Saints. So, it was the Devin White that I wanted to see, and not the defensive player of the year candidate Devin White that we saw. And yes, perhaps he maybe just had an off game. But then again, as you just brought it up right now, 3 penalties for 45 yards, the taunting. enough is enough.
Yeah, I agree.
What's
Listen,
going on? Hey, listen, I like when he gets up in people's faces, but hey, you have to know what you're doing, who you're doing it with, how much energy you're putting out there. It just, I don't know. Because I'll tell you this, there was a lot of those penalties. Uh, there were just specifically some that just gave the Saints an opportunity to keep firing, keep
yeah,
coming at us. Why were we just letting this happen over and over again?
yeah, it was frustrating, man, and especially someone like him, right? And I don't know if it's because again, to when you win, a lot of things come your way, right? Now we see him in commercials and doing a lot of other things, and he's got a lot of national attention, and he loves to talk, which to your point, I love about him talking. But you got to know the situation, right? You got to know what you're doing, and it's a close game. I mean, you could. Why didn't you talk your trash against the Bears when we were up 38-3? We'll take the penalty then, to your point, but not now. Got to know what you're doing, and kind of to wrap up, because I don't love talking not great stuff about our guy here, but Musab, did you know that this guy, if I were to ask you how many sacks, forced fumbles, or interception he has this year, do you have any idea in ballpark?
I honestly, I don't know if I really want to answer that. Go ahead and tell me the stat.
It is zero, my man. He doesn't have a sack, a forced fumble, or an
Oh
interception this year.
Lord. Oh
Yeah.
Lord. Hey, let me tell you something. I mean, the Saints got to him, but the Saints got to us overall, Stefan.
Oh yeah.
To kind of summarize it for me is, listen, I was rather impressed slash embarrassed as to how well Winston was playing before that injury. I'm also kind of impressed at how well Trevor Simeon came off the bench, ice cold, led the Saints to this important, crucial win. I mean, listen, shout out to Sean Payton as well, but I think what it was the Saints defense, and I mean, I guess the offense as well, but yeah, you have Winston playing. Okay, well, Winston goes out. Okay, you got Hill playing. Hill's your bro, your bro, whatever. But then you have the third string guy. And the way I'm kind of thinking about this now, Stefan, is it reaches a point where like, oh snap, third stringer's in. We have to have his back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This guy ain't this guy. Listen, there's teams, there's games where it's like, oh my lord, God bless the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? The Saints knew that it wasn't going to be a game like that because respectfully, it's Trevor Simeon we're talking about. He still did solid, but
To be
it
honest
was
here,
it
yeah.
was a yeah, it was a team effort. The team really, really picked up, okay, and they had his back, and they took care of business. And I mean, as much as I also want to just keep, coming at the Bucs, I have to say that this was a rather impressive performance by the Saints. Because I say this because they're our divisional rival. We're going to play them again. They're a solid team with a good defense, great coaching. I don't know if I really want to count this team out of any game. They have enough power to stay in games, regardless of these kind of random obstacles that they've been facing or have faced during the games. Uh, but I hope they're not a force to be reckoned with next time we play them.
No, and I agree, right? I told you a little bit before the last podcast. I thought the defense was legit. And listen, to your point that you just said it earlier today, when your defense plays consistently that good, you're always in the game. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Because all you need is a few points here, a few balls to go your way, and you're right back in it because your defense is so good, right? So, yeah, to your point, I mean, they are going to be a factor in our division. Unfortunately, we saw what happened to Jameis, and we hope he's all right. He makes it all right out of surgery and all the things he's going to have to go through. But yeah, I don't know what this quarterback situation will be moving forward, but they can definitely run the ball and they can play good defense, which is a recipe for winning a good amount of football games. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they have to play also good teams, and so do we, right? They still have Buffalo on the schedule, so do we. So we'll see what happens there. But it was funny that you bring up Simeon because I had texted you during the game. I said, "Do you do you know the last win that Simeon had as a quarterback?" And it was, of course, against the Bucs. So it's just kind of crazy how I don't know. Life has its funny ways, right? This guy doesn't play a lot, but of course, the last team he beat was us. Um,
Yeah, there
listen,
was a few guys. There was a few guys, Stefan, where I'm sure. I mean, you even read in the news as well. I mean, there was those kind of guys who were like, "Who the heck is this guy?" Kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? Simeon, Grayson. There was even the one guy on the Saints. I'm forgetting his name. I think it was number 40 who got that touchdown. Uh, you heard it from the commentator himself. Last time he got a touchdown was 2 years ago. There was a lot of those random dudes popping in here and there, and Simeon was one of them. And yeah, life has its funny ways. That was a rather interesting stat you told me during the game, and I guess maybe it was foreshadowing the interesting or rather disappointing loss that we had against the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, well, the reason I brought it up is because, like I said, my dad's a diehard, and we were talking, at halftime, and I said, man, hopefully we should be able to pull this off, right? And he's a third stringer. He's like, I wouldn't laugh too much because you know how that, typically happens to us, and God behold, you saw what happened. But, let's kind of move into a more positive mood here, Musab, and one of our favorite segments, the RBLR moment. For those who are listening for the first time this week, this is, kind of a moment where me and Musab enjoyed as just, pure fandom, not really getting into the nitty gritty of the game. So Musab, what was your RBLR moment this past week?
Mine was definitely Grayson's touchdown. I mean, I was just talking about those who the heck are these kind of guys, and he was one of them. That was something I don't think anyone was expecting. In fact, that really caught me by surprise, but also really fired me up. That's what those are the kind of small things that really can give you that boost. Okay, if you take advantage of those and you don't make the silly mistakes, then you can win. It was a game that we had potential to win because of those kind of moments, Stefan. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be that way, but shout out to Grayson for that touchdown. Real nice seeing that.
Yeah, Musab, that I want the listeners to know that when we pick our RBLR moments, we actually don't put it in our notes together because it's been 2 weeks where we've stealing each other's. I'm on the same boat in this one. I actually think that the Grayson touchdown was awesome to see, especially as a fan, right? I mean, that should have been the game-winning touchdown. And he also grew up, Musab. I read this today. He grew up 5 to 10 miles away from the Superdome, so that must have been awesome for his family and himself to just be able to score there in front of his family and in a big game. It can't get any better than that as a player.
I mean, there weren't too many moments that had those kind of RBLR moment kind of candidacy. So yeah, to all of our listeners, I guarantee you that was probably your RBLR moment as well. I hate to say it, but there was only one play that really, really, really stood out. I would probably actually, I take that back. RBLR moment also could have been the Evans, but that one just really stood out to me, and that was also especially with how the game was going and when he got it like that and racked up the touchdown. It was real nice. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Stefan.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that wraps up our Saints recap. It was hard to do today, Musab. It's something losing is one thing, losing to the Saints like that is another, the whole different thing. So, moving into some positive thoughts when it comes to, our injury segment here. I read today, Musab, that Sean Murphy Bunting and Scooter yesterday, they began their 21-day practice period, which means that they can be promoted to the active roster, which in the next 21 days. So, I mean, that must mean that the team is thinking that they're healthy enough to be back soon. So, any impact of having these two guys back that we haven't seen since week one?
I mean, other than taking advantage of the bye week, just an extra week for all the boys to just be resting and stuff like that. And it's not like anyone's being really pushed to be playing because we don't have a game this upcoming week. But hey, listen, I mean, at this point, this is more the road to recovery slash are these guys ready to just immediately kind of just pop in and fit in because we really need them. These are some important losses that we're dealing with, Stefan, and every single one of them is a key player on our team, and especially the past season, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, all very important players, and I want them back ASAP. That's all I can really say, and I hope, I just hope we kind of play our cards right with them, I guess is what I'll leave it at.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, like I said earlier in the podcast, right? I mean, Sean Murphy Bunting and Scooter were players who contributed a lot last year. Like, let's not forget about that. Those are players who Sean Murphy Bunting had an interception in every game except the Super Bowl in the playoffs. And we know what Scooter can do, and he'll blow the roof out of the building, which he did in Green Bay. So, these are guys that are gonna definitely help, especially Sean Murphy Bunting in that secondary. area that we know we have a lot of issues going on. The other two guys that continue to be hurt, Carlton Davis and Gronk. Carlton Davis, Musab, I don't know if you found anything. From what I've read, there's no news on him yet. So that's not great news. They still say it's not season ending. Don't really know what that means. Will we see him before hopefully before the playoffs or during the playoffs? No update there. Gronk, back spasm. So it has nothing to do with his, I'm not a doctor, but from what I read, it has nothing to do with his cracked ribs or anything, but he did get hurt in the game that he played last week again. So, again, to your point, a lot of these dudes are just going to benefit from this bye week, right? I mean, it's something that it can't hurt not to play when you're hurt, right?
Right there with you for sure. I mean, that's all we can pray for is just speedy recoveries. I'm wondering if how I guess it worked out. Just maybe we're just getting banged up at the wrong times. Having Gronk come in and immediately go out like that is not a sight anyone really wants to see. But at this point, yeah, it's just really taking advantage of the bye week. Really, really ensuring that they're trying to get the quality care that they ought to receive. Slash, kind of maybe taking it also easy. Understanding that, hey, listen, okay, yeah, you're on a bye week right now, but that doesn't mean that you're just gonna automatically be all good and stuff like that. Just because everyone's on break and I don't know. We just need to rest up right now. They're all a big mystery mark for me, but also just praying for the best. The only two things is speedy recoveries, and I hope the automatic or immediate adjustments that they'll be needing to make when they start or when they play, turn out well. I hope these guys don't need to have a bunch of games to warm up, because I don't know, Stefan, how many games these guys are going to have. A lot of things are kind of in the air right now. So I don't know. How do you feel overall, though?
I agree. And that leads to like our last segment today, right? Bye week. Our thoughts moving into this week. Are we meeting expectations, or what are the thoughts about all these guys that are supposed to come back? To your point, there's not a lot of we're halfway through the season. Like, are these guys going to come back and be able to make an immediate impact? Are they going to need a few games? It's hard, right? There's not a lot of answers and clarity. But Musab, I will say, to me, a good sign from the Bucs were they didn't go out there and make any trade deadline deals. They didn't go out there and go splash for a corner or a tight end, I guess, because even our tight end room, even though we thought OJ and Cam might do a job, that we really haven't seen anything from them. So they didn't do any big moves. So your thoughts there, again, kind of answering your question there. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is moving forward for these players. I hope they can contribute, because we definitely need them. So I'm hoping, if I would have to make a prediction, I'm hoping we get Murphy Bunting, Scooter, Gronk, and Sherman for our next game. I would be very excited if they had all a chance at playing after the bye week.
I mean, yeah, I'm hoping they meet my expectations, and I don't have too many for them right now. But I guess I also want to know is, are we meeting the expectations that you and I or a lot of our fans and listeners had, with our Bucs? Because it's been an interesting road for sure. The wins we've had, it was Cowboys, we scraped the win. Buccaneers versus Falcons, solid. Rams loss. Patriots game was very interesting. Okay, Buccaneers versus Dolphins, nice, we just pummeled them. And then Eagles was rather odd, but we still take the win. And then, Bears, okay, nice solid win. And then last but not least, before the bye week, a disappointing loss to the New Orleans Saints. So I don't know. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down, Stefan. That's kind of just the way I feel. And I don't know. I don't think they're meeting my expectations at all. But I also wasn't expecting for our team to be dealing with so many spontaneous obstacles. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So I will say this, Muso. I was kind of looking at some of my old notes here. I guess I can't be that mad as a fan, because I did say after 8 games we'd be 6-2. I said we would lose to the Rams and the Dolphins. Those are not the exact losses, but I guess I guess they are meeting my expectations, Musab, even though I feel kind of weird saying that because I'm very upset about what happened last week. But I guess in my case, I guess I will have to say they're meeting them. But I do think that the injuries play a humongous part, and I don't know moving forward what that means for us. But again, we how about we kind of take these questions as a takeaway for our next pod, and we bring up these questions again. We both go back, see what our predictions were, see what injuries stand, any new news regarding the Bucs. A lot of players are going to get cut. You can still add players, you can't trade for them, but a lot of players, I mean, I wouldn't add someone like OBJ, but it looks like Odell will be out. We'll see where he goes. Von Miller went to the Rams. How does that affect us? So what do you think about maybe potentially trying to answer these questions next week?
Right there with you. We got plenty of time. Well, our team has plenty of time as well to sit back, rest up, and reflect. And there's going to be a lot of reflecting needed to be done now. Then a lot of reflections needed to be done closer to our next game we have right after the bye week.
Agreed. So that being said, enjoy the bye week, folks. I hope all our listeners had a lot of fun today. I mean, it was a tough one to swallow last week, but hey, 6-2 after going into our bye week. Division leaders, listen, these are good times in Tampa Bay. We've seen way worse, so let's enjoy it. Let's take the break for what it is. It's 6-2. We will preview next week. Our game versus the Washington football team. We'll try to answer those questions regarding trades, cuts, anything that happened around our squad and around the NFC especially. But that being said, I want to thank our listeners again for tuning in here for about an hour. We appreciate your time. If when you're listening to us, if you could please follow us at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we would really appreciate that, as well as like and subscribe to all the major podcast platforms. That'd be awesome. And listen, Musab, 6-2, division leaders. I'm gonna leave it at that. Go Bucs, and I'll leave you with the last word.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been one hell of a roller coaster so far this season. What do you say, Stefan?
Go Bucs, baby. I agree. I mean, it's been a roller coaster, but I've enjoyed it.
Well, bye week is among us. I hope that gives you a really good reason to get you fired up, because next time we talk, eyes on the next prey of ours, the Washington football team. With that being said, thanks again. As always, go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.